Does Jeff Fisch have a top 25 team on his hands for Arizona football? All that and more here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Show is brought to you by Gametime. All right, now, Arizona football. Is this a top 25 team? We're going to look at the positives and the negatives for this kind of talk right here, because I don't think that it's crazy, but we're going to find this one out right now. Now, we got to know how we got here first, because that's important, because if you don't know the past, you are doomed to repeat it. All right. Arizona under Jayden de Laura was just not very good. It's the best way I can put it. Don't mean that as a slight to the kid. Don't mean that as a slight towards really anything. Just wasn't that good. And the problem is that you never really knew what he was going to do out there. And not only did you not really know what he was going to do, you didn't know if he was going to stay within the offense. Was the offense going to be able to stay on schedule, as the proverbial term goes? Or was it going to essentially falter because JDL is not looking at wide open receivers or whatever the case may be, and he's chucking it out of bounds or just throwing it into triple coverage where it gets intercepted? That's kind of where it was with Jayden de Laura, and there was a sense that the team under Jayden de Laura was somewhat capped. Against Mississippi State, you saw the good and the bad. You saw 4 interceptions in the first half. Then you saw him almost lead Arizona to a comeback. Obviously, it didn't work. And then after that, you played really, really bad against Stanford, and Noah Fifita comes in and saves the day. Under Noah Fifita, this has become a drastically different team. And when I tell you a drastically different team, I mean it pretty much every way across the board right there. Not only was this a team that is now able to move the ball at will, but everybody kind of gravitates towards Noah Fifita. We use the term here, leader of men, all the time, and I know that's a little trite at times, but he's really a leader out there. And not only is he a leader out there, he's a guy that at the end of the game, and the ball's in his hands, you feel like he's going to make the plays. There is a comfort level about him that you just don't really have. You don't really have about anybody else, to be honest with you, on this team. And granted, anybody else means Jayden de Laura. But either way, that is a very good thing for the University of Arizona. Now, we're going to talk about what this means as far as being possibly a top 25 team, which is just wild to say. But I think the first thing that we do need to talk about, though, is this offense, though, under Fafita. Now, the depth on this team is wildly good now, and that is a huge testament to Jeff Fisch. And not only is that a huge testament to Jeff Fisch, it's a huge testament to everything that he's wanted to do, his entire vision, and not only his entire vision, his entire way of going about things. And he said this when he first took over, that nobody will outwork us. We're going to bring in good players. And not only are we going to bring in good players, we are going to get big, because again, there are times and places for undersized players. We all get that. But there's also a time where you've got to be able to go toe-to-toe with somebody, and not only go toe-to-toe with somebody, be able to say, on our best day, we can win when we don't bring our best effort. And he's given Arizona that kind of margin for error now. And not only is he given Arizona that kind of margin for error now, this is the team that on both sides of the ball just feels a little bit different. So you got Fafita back there calling the shots, obviously. And not only is he calling the shots, he's also getting everybody the ball to where they can make plays. Now, with under Jayden de Laura, there was essentially 2 players that were catching passes. And again, not the worst thing in the world, but also certainly not the best thing in the world either. He was throwing to T-Mac, and that was T-Mac and Jacob Cowling, and that was about it. There was nobody else out there that was going to get touches, and I think that was just kind of frustrating for a lot of people out there because you knew that there were more players out there that could help. You knew that Kevin Green, ex-USC decommit, could play. You knew that a player like a Malachi Riley could play as well. All kinds of dudes out there that you knew could make a little bit of a difference, and they just weren't really getting that opportunity. Noah Fifita comes in, and then all of a sudden, everybody starts to eat. And not only does everybody start to eat, you start to see players out there that are all of a sudden reinvigorated. And isn't that part of the job of the quarterback, to be able to get everybody on the same page to where everybody feels like, okay, I know that if I move around right here, I'm going to be able to get the ball. And not only will I be able to get the ball, everybody's going to get the ball. The best way I can put it with Noah Fifita is everybody eats. That is the best way I could put it, and I think that's a really good way of putting it. Every now and then I think I get one right there. And then at that running back spot, Jonah Coleman has become an absolute monster for the Wildcats. Not only has he become an absolute monster, I think you could make the case that Arizona's got about as deep a running back room as there is in the conference. You lose Michael Wiley, and everybody knows how good Michael Wiley is, but Jonah Coleman's come in and he's kind of had a next level type feel to him where he's been absolutely fantastic. And he's not only that, he's kind of running people over. He's making plays out there that guys on this team just weren't able to make before. And again, that is a massive testament to him. And it goes to show you the depth. Then DJ Williams steps in as well. And after DJ Williams steps in, he's not as good as Jonah Coleman, obviously, but he's got also some of that thumper mentality to him. And that thumper mentality will carry you a long way when you're just trying to get a couple yards. And then our guy, Rayshawn Speedy Luke, Fam. We need to talk about Fam on this show because Fam is a player that the MVP of the Army All-American Bowl. You got to remember that. And not only was he the MVP of the Army All-American Bowl, he was highly, highly sought after by a lot of different schools. And it makes sense as to why he was, because he's good. He's fast. Rayshawn Speedy Luke, a.k.a. Fam. Big fans of Fam on this show, obviously. And you saw his breakout performance right there against Washington State. And I think you're going to continue to see more of it because I think at this stage in the game, it's very, very difficult not to keep him in the game at this point. Now, let's talk about Gametime here. Gametime, my friends. Download the Gametime app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. All right. Well, here's the thing. We're just talking about Arizona football and Washington State. Washington State is the team that we were telling you we liked Arizona's chances to win this game straight up, but at the very least cover. If you were on Gametime, you could have made a little bit of money. Or you could say to yourself, Mike doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm going to go against him. Fine, go against him. But the Gametime app, though, is the coolest thing because you can use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off, and you can go to these games and maybe get a little bit of skrill in, maybe get a little bit of money in on FanDuel, just kind of throwing that one out there, kind of merging some. But Gametime, again, I know people that got in there going to Metallica concerts or going to the University of Arizona. All kinds of good stuff with Gametime. Again, check it out and maybe use a little bit of FanDuel there in the meantime. But again, best place to find concerts last second, games, last second prices, and really good tickets. Then my friend, Prize Picks. All right, here's the deal with Prize Picks. Use code LOCKEDON for a first deposit match up to $100. prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege. Check it out. Again, this is very, very fun to be able to watch games, and you can also kind of feel where exactly, all right, I think this player is going to do this, or I think this player is going to do that, and Prize Picks is the perfect spot for you all. Check it out. Again, use code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege. All right, come right back with us, and we are going to talk more about where Arizona football is, and are they careening towards a top 25 ranking? Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, with Noah Fifita under center, Arizona's offense has been humming. Now, let's talk about the defense a little bit, because the defense has been absolutely as good. And not only has the defense been absolutely as good, it has been, I think it's fair to say at this point, it's probably been maybe the surprise of the conference. Now, again, like with the offense and the team, we got to go back and look at it and where Arizona came from. And a big problem for Arizona's defense, well, let's be honest, the last 10 years was, we're not going to pressure the quarterback. And not only are we not going to pressure the quarterback, we're going to give up whatever running lanes you want as well. That did not work. And that's why we were basically saying pretty much the entire time that this was a squad that just needed to not finish ninth, because if it didn't finish ninth, the offense was going to be good enough. Now, the offense wasn't good enough early on, but the defense was able to carry it. And now the defense is definitely no fluke. You look at what it did against Washington, holding it to 31 points, and not only holding it to 31 points, but at the end, Washington only scored 10 points in that second half. Got to keep that in mind right there, my friends. Then USC, Caleb Williams had no idea what was going on against Arizona. And I think you could probably make the case that Caleb Williams was kind of rendered pedestrian. And I think that Notre Dame probably took a lot of that defensive motto, and that he was running around everywhere, nowhere to go, and it didn't look good. But the defense overall, though, the pressure has been absolutely fantastic. And I think that's really what stuns so many people. It's not only has the pressure been fantastic, I think a lot of people are wondering, where did this even come from? I'll tell you where it came from. Big Bill Norton. All right, Big Bill Norton. We love Big Bill Norton on this show. 6'4", 350 pounds. Didn't play a ton at Georgia. But you know what? Who cares that he didn't play a ton at Georgia, because he's playing a ton at the U of A. We love Big Bill Norton on this show. Between Big Bill Norton, Tai Uiagalelei, Jacob Kongaika getting in the mix, this is an interior now that all of a sudden it's real problems. Tia Savea, Tyler Manoa. There's a lot of good players on this defensive line right there. And then on the edges, Taylor Upshaw. 5.5 sacks this season, looking like he could be the first 10-sack player since what, Scooby Wright? I mean, and then on the opposite side, Isaiah Ward has been very solid all season. And not only has Isaiah Ward been solid all season, Deuce Davis has emerged as well. Deuce Davis, we really like him on this show. This is what a top 25 defensive line is supposed to look like. And not only is this what a top 25 defensive line is supposed to look like, this is the kind of squad that I think it's fair to say can keep you in games and can keep you can keep games close. And this is something that Arizona didn't have in years past. It just didn't. I think we all know that. Now, some of the other things to definitely keep in mind right here when we're talking about Arizona football, the linebackers, Jacob Manu. Jacob Manu has been an absolute monster this year. Again, he's somewhat limited. We do know that, in that he's never going to be the biggest dude in the world. And not only is he not going to ever be the biggest guy in the world, he's also probably not going to be somebody who is able to, really make that next level NFL potential. Get it? Don't care. I care about college. I care about what you do at the U of A. And at the U of A, he's absolutely fantastic for what Arizona wants to do. Then, not only that, next to him, you got Justin Flo, the heat-seeking missile. We're at the point now with Justin Flo, and I think everybody understands this, where it's okay to just say that, you know what, Flo is probably going to get you one really bad penalty per game, and that's just going to be the way it is. But not only is it going to be the way it is, it's just going to be something you got to live with, because guess what? He's going to make some very, very big plays out there. And not only is he going to make some very good plays out there, he's going to be able to, be the one player out there that just looks different than everybody else out there. And not only does he look different, I mean, you understand why, because he was a top 5 recruit coming out nationally. He's just a big time player right there. You got to like what you see out of Flo. And Arizona, I think, has gotten to the point where you're just going to kind of live with Justin Flo. And that's a great thing right there, because, listen, when you get a guy that talented, sometimes you just got to take the good with the bad, and Arizona's doing that. And then the defensive backs, where to even start with the defensive backfield right there? This is a unit that, whether it's Dwayne Aquina, whether it's Chuck Cecil, whatever the case may be, you've got to really tip your cap to these defensive backs, because they have been absolutely fantastic, and they are only getting better. And I think that's what's exciting about all of this. Now, you might be watching the game and say, you know what? Alcohol is not necessarily for me, but I like the taste of alcohol. Here's where it is. Athletic Brewing. Here's the deal. Use code Locked On for 15% off your first order. Athletic Brewing. I was actually at a game place watching Arizona, Washington State, and a guy brought some non-alcoholic Athletic Brew by, asked me to try it. It was really, really good. Like Athletic Brewing, it's very good. Again, use code Locked On for 15% off your first order. Athleticbrewing.com. A lot of people drinking it now. You'll see why. Check it out. All right, now we're going to talk about why Arizona could easily be a top 25 team. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, my friends, let's talk about Arizona and why it could be a top 25 team. And a big reason why is that secondary. The secondary has absolutely balled out this entire season, and it's only getting better. You look at the 2 cornerbacks right now, I think everybody knew that there was going to be some growing pains with them just because they're young, they're true sophomores, and they're both like 6'10". Now they're actually only about 6'3", but you get the idea. But what's amazing about them is how they move their hips, how they can adjust, and not only how they adjust, how they are able to basically move like smaller cornerbacks. They've got kind of that fluidity and that hip twitch in there that is kind of different, to be honest with you. And you don't see that. All the time. And I think that's also something that is fairly impressive about what Arizona fans have been able to see from this unit. And so again, that is a good thing out there, my friends. And not only is it a good thing, it is I think it's fair to say at this stage that Arizona has a good defense, which again just kind of feels weird to say, but a big reason why are those defensive backs. Trayden Stukes in the nickel, obviously. And then we've beaten down Gunnar Maldonado. We've beaten him down a ton, but guess what? We got to give some kudos, some praise to Gunnar Maldonado right there. Gunnar Maldonado's been great in the last 3 weeks. He is, listen, he's never going to be Ed Reed in coverage. We know that. But that doesn't also mean, though, that he can't be good enough and that he can't suffice into a spot where where he's just more than capable enough. And I think that's what you're looking for if you're Arizona. Just get him in there because, again, in the box, he's going to be a big hitter. And not only is he going to be a big hitter, he's going to make sure that nobody misses their assignments right there. Jeff Fisch has talked about it multiple times about how he's a leader out there in the secondary, and that obviously matters. But between him and Dalton Johnson's another one that we got to talk about because I don't know why Dalton Johnson wasn't playing last year. Dalton Johnson has been a very, very nice revelation in the secondary, certainly much better than Christian Young was, and somebody that I think has kind of been a backbone of the team. But when you look at the offense under Noah Fifita, when you look at the defense now under Johnny Nansen, this new look Arizona defense, both of these units kind of play, as they say, complementary football. And not only do they play complementary football, they're not only are they able to do that, they're able to On certain plays, like with the offense stagnates a little bit, the defense has been able to pick them up this season. And when the defense struggles a little bit, like that first drive against Washington State, where Washington State moved the ball right down the field, Arizona came right back and gave a touchdown, got the lead right back for them. And then it was all downhill from Washington State from there. Washington State, or Arizona's defense, carried them from there. But both sides of the ball right now are playing top 25 type level. And not only are they playing at a top 25 level, this doesn't appear to be a fluke. And I think that's what's so engaging and so unique about this entire endeavor, is that this does not appear to be a fluke. And from an Arizona perspective, you got to be absolutely thrilled about that one right there. So again, that's kind of where we're at with Arizona football and where everything does stand right now. Again, big tip of the caps to Jeff Fisch. Again, what he said he was going to do. And not only has he done that, he's done that in a huge way. And it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get better for Arizona. They got to continue to do this. We're going to talk a little bit of hoops tomorrow. Get back on that grind there a little bit. But obviously with Arizona football, we're in a day in. This is probably the best Arizona team in about 10 years. And not only is it the best Arizona team in 10 years, I think it's got the potential to continue to climb on that list. And again, that's because of what Jeff Fisch has been able to do. The talent overall here in short order has been nothing short of outstanding or astounding, either way you want to put it. All right, as we talked about, the show brought to you today by Gametime. Tomorrow, though, we're going to get into a little bit of Arizona basketball, because you got a big game, or you got an exhibition coming up Friday night. That's going to be a lot of fun. We will be there, and we'll obviously be there talking about all of that as well. But as always, really appreciate you guys making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. We will be back with you tomorrow, and keep it locked on Wildcats.